It started with chaos at the heart of luxury. The halls of St. Regis International Academy gleamed like gold, filled with the laughter and chatter of elite children, sons and daughters of billionaires, politicians, and royalty. But among them was one name whispered with fear and awe: Lyla Kingsley, the billionaire's daughter. At only 17, she was notorious for her temper, arrogance, and cold defiance. Teachers quit after weeks, counselors left in tears, and even the principal kept a respectful distance. Her father, Richard Kingsley, a titan of finance with a billion-dollar empire, had exhausted every option to control her rebellious ways. Tutors came and went. Bodyguards tried and failed. And yet, beneath the designer clothes and diamond earrings, Lyla's eyes carried a deep, unspoken pain. She wasn't cruel without reason. She was lost, lonely, and unheard. That morning, her tantrum had broken a window in the cafeteria, leaving shards of glass scattered like ice across the marble floor. While the staff avoided her glare, a quiet figure walked in, holding a mop and a bucket. His name was Daniel Miller, a single father, 42, with tired eyes and calloused hands. He'd been working at the school for just a few months, cleaning up after the rich who never noticed him. But that day, he noticed her, standing alone, shaking slightly, her anger masking the loneliness beneath. He didn't flinch at her stare or her sharp words. Instead, he smiled faintly and said, "You missed a spot," nodding toward the glass near her shoe. It was the first time anyone had dared to speak to her that way. Lyla blinked, speechless. For once, someone didn't treat her like she was made of money or danger. The following days were strange. Daniel didn't seek her out, but Lyla found herself noticing him everywhere. He was gentle with the world, patient even with the most menial tasks. She saw how he'd pick up trash left by others without complaint, how he greeted every staff member with a nod and a small smile. And one afternoon, she overheard him talking softly on the phone to his daughter, Lily, who was 8 years old. The warmth in his voice softened something in her. She followed him outside one evening, where he sat eating a simple sandwich under the old oak tree. "Why do you work here?" she asked suddenly. Daniel looked up, surprised but calm. "Because life doesn't always give you what you want," he said. "But it gives you what you need to grow stronger." She scoffed at first, but the words stayed in her mind like an echo. The next day, she caught herself helping the janitorial staff pick up books someone had thrown. It was the first time in years she'd done something kind without expecting anything in return. But peace never came easy to Lyla. Her father soon found out she'd been spending time with a janitor and was furious. Richard Kingsley stormed into the school, demanding Daniel's termination. To him, a man of low income was not fit to speak to his daughter, let alone influence her. Lyla overheard the argument. For the first time, she stood up to her father. "He treats me like a human being," she said, trembling. "Not like one of your business deals." The confrontation ended with Richard pulling Lyla from the academy. Daniel lost his job the next morning. Yet, even as he packed his things, there was no bitterness in his eyes, only quiet dignity. He returned home to his small apartment, where Lily greeted him with open arms. That night, he told her, "Sometimes doing the right thing means losing everything, but it's still right." Meanwhile, Lyla sat in her mansion, her reflection staring back at her from 1,000 mirrors. For the first time, she missed someone not because of what they could give her, but because of what they taught her. Weeks passed. Lyla's behavior at home worsened. She refused to speak, refused to eat, and her once fiery spirit dimmed. Richard, desperate and confused, realized something no fortune could fix: a broken heart. Late one evening, he found a letter in her room addressed to Mr. Miller. It wasn't elaborate, just simple words: "You were the first person who saw me. Thank you." It struck him deeply. The next day, he ordered his driver to find Daniel. They located him sweeping the floors of a small grocery store. When Richard approached him, Daniel didn't show resentment. He simply wiped his hands and nodded politely. "Your daughter doesn't need money, sir," Daniel said quietly. "She needs someone to listen." It was the first time the billionaire felt small, not because of Daniel's words, but because of their truth. Richard asked Daniel for help, not as an employer, but as a father. Daniel hesitated, but agreed, on one condition: Lyla had to help him with community work at the youth center he volunteered at. When she arrived, she expected pity, But what she saw instead humbled her. Children with little more than hope were laughing, learning, living. Daniel guided her, showing her that kindness wasn't weakness. Slowly, Lyla began to change. The girl who once lashed out now helped the young boy learn to read. The walls she'd built began to crumble. She started to understand Daniel's quiet strength, how love didn't need luxury, and how courage often wore overalls, not suits. Her father watched from afar, his heart swelling with pride and regret. Months later, Lyla stood beside Daniel and Lily at the center's charity event. Her smile was real this time. She'd found something she never had before: peace. When Richard approached Daniel, he extended his hand. "You did the impossible," he said, voice trembling. Daniel shook his head softly. "No, sir." "She did." That night, as the lights dimmed and laughter filled the hall, Lyla looked at the two people who had changed her life, a poor janitor and his little girl, and whispered, "Thank you for showing me what love really means." In that moment, the billionaire's daughter wasn't unreachable anymore. She was finally human and free.